Hello, it's me, Benjamin from Dreamy Tales Corner. Don't forget about subscribe my channel and like this video. Okay, thank you for attention. Let's start. Silence. There is a peace at sunrise that surpasses all understanding. It's a renewal, a feeling that anything is possible. I'd like to say I drag myself from the comfort of my bed every day to enjoy sunrise's splendor, but you wouldn't believe me, and I would be lying. What is true is I was there that day, and so was she. There is a connection between sunrisers just because they are sunrisers. It's a shared yet unspoken appreciation for things quiet and beautiful. That might explain why I was immediately drawn to her, but I know it wasn't just because of the earliness of the morning. Amelia, you see, would have attracted me no matter the time of day. The first time I saw her, I was sitting there at my favorite secret spot overlooking Echo Lake. It's a hidden gem in Montana, nestled within the sprawling Glacier National Park. Before that day, if I had my way, no one would ever sit and admire its beauty other than me. The lake, a destination point for fishermen, hikers, and dreamers, is nature at its most spectacular. Surrounded by towering pines and snow-dusted peaks, it isn't easy to find, even if you're looking for it. Once discovered, even the most adventurous souls keep the secret to themselves. In an age where free time is often consumed by scrolling through screens, Echo Lake is a reminder of life's simplicity. The sunrise over its still waters is the universe's definition of a masterpiece. That particular trip occurred in early June. I remember it vividly because I had to arrive just after 4:30 a.m. to catch the sun as it peeked over the ridgeline. Summer is the best time to watch the sunrise because no one in their right mind would be up that early, nor would they endure the trek to my hidden spot. No one except me and Amelia. Is this seat taken? Not many people can recall the first words spoken by or to the love of their life, but I absolutely can. That morning, as I turned to see from where the unexpected voice was coming, the first light of dawn revealed the most breathtaking girl I had ever seen. Not all men might have thought so. Amelia wore no makeup, a pair of weathered hiking boots, and a faded gray hoodie. Her hair, perfectly chestnut, tumbled loosely over her shoulders as though untouched by the morning wind. She had made no effort to look beautiful, yet she radiated a glow that couldn't be hidden, not by her casual clothes or the early hour. Something shifted inside me the moment I saw her. I had spent years protecting my secret spot, and now, surprisingly, unexpectedly, delightfully, I wanted nothing more than to share the sunrise with her. I, unfortunately, am no poet. The most romantic response I could manage to her question was, "It's a free country." With that, she claimed her place in my secret spot, and, unknowingly, in my heart. The silence that followed was both profound and revealing. Amelia wasn't there for small talk. She was there to witness the quiet majesty of sunrise. We sat in stillness, watching as the first rays of sunlight painted the lake's surface in gold. Without a single word, she told me that she understood the sacredness of the moment, and I silently responded that her presence made it even more sacred. Perfection is unattainable, but that morning came as close as it gets. As the sun climbed higher into the sky, Amelia stood, brushed the dirt off her jeans, and disappeared down the winding trail. 8 words exchanged, and a lifetime of possibilities imagined. 30 minutes spent together, and yet I was certain I'd never see her again. The thought crushed me. The next 6 years came and went, 6 long years since that sunrise at Echo Lake. There were relationships, fleeting and unremarkable, each undone by my own restlessness. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake the memory of her. I went back to the lake occasionally, telling myself it was for the view, not for her. But deep down, I knew better. I was waiting for her, hoping. And then it happened. Once again, it was summer. Once again, it was sunrise. And once again, she was there. Is this seat taken? It's a free country. The same 8 words, but this time I knew better. When the sun completed its part in our shared moment, Amelia rose as she had before, brushing the dirt from her jeans. But this time I stood too. My name is Liam. I don't like coffee, but I'd love to share a cup with you. My name is Amelia, she replied, a soft smile playing on her lips. And I'd be happy to share a cup of Joe. She called it Joe. Funny how the smallest things confirm that love is real. A cup of coffee became a dinner became a commitment became forever. There were kids, dogs, adventures, but always there were trips to Echo Lake, always at sunrise, always just the two of us, never needing words. You never know the last time is the last time until it's too late. On our final trip, old age slowed our steps, but we made it. As the sun rose, Amelia stood with my help. Would you like to share a cup of Joe? She knew I did. She knew it was my greatest joy to sit beside her, pretending to like coffee. 2 days later, she was gone. Her last words to me, I'll save a seat for you. And, true to form, I replied, it's a free country. Now, I only visit our spot at night. As the moonlight reflects off the lake, I feel her hand on mine and hear her voice in the silence only we understand. The next story is about a young boy stumbles upon a life-changing secret deep within an ancient forest, where he encounters a mysterious and powerful being. Their meeting sets off a journey of trust, courage, and extraordinary discoveries. Oakshire Forest, 1350. Like any right-minded boy of 9.5, hadn't Samuel always dismissed the rumors as unbelievable, too good to be true? Stuff and nonsense, his mother said firmly. You are to ignore them. But what if they are true? He'd asked her this more than once. They are not true. She shook her fist to emphasize the point. You must stop your foolish chatter, Samuel. There have been no sightings, and even if there were, the king has forbidden such talk. Haven't we enough troubles without adding to them? But no ifs and no buts. There's been neither flicker nor flame, no unexplained rising smoke, no remains of large animals or tracks in the dirt. If only there was a rumble from the earth below, or a roar from the sky above, then you'd believe. Samuel muttered to himself. With all his heart, he longed to track down the source of the rumor. In spite of these denials, the rumors persisted. Samuel's family, who lived on the edge of Oakshire Forest, were struggling. His father had fallen and injured his leg after being forced to repair the Baron's castle battlements. Samuel's mother had done her best, but he needed a doctor they could not afford. While Samuel did his best with the household chores, his mother muddled through looking after the cow and chickens, as well as tending the vegetables in their small plot of land. The land was always in danger of being poached, because, under strict rules, the king would not allow it to be enclosed. More seriously, there had been no help from the Baron, and it was unlikely Samuel's father would ever work again. Samuel collected the firewood and tried to help, but his father had not yet shown him how to hunt for the small animals that were permissible as food under the king's charter. This did not include deer, which were regarded as royal possessions. The punishments for stealing deer were severe. Imprisonment in the baron's jail, often followed by mutilation of one of the offender's hands. When people had their fill of ale, tongues loosened in the taverns, even though the king had threatened to kill anyone who spread false rumors. Still, there was gossip about a creature said to have royal blood who enjoyed eating kings for breakfast. Feeling threatened, the king had sent out soldiers to search the forest, but so far no one had reported anything, and nothing had been proved. And yet the rumors persisted. One day, Samuel left his parents' hovel and headed into the forest to seek the solace of his favorite oak. Said to be older than time itself, he sat against the trunk's hollow, which had been formed by millions of termites eating into the base. Emptying his meager rucksack, he drank from a flask of milk and nibbled on an old apple. When he still felt hungry, he cried into the earth as if his heart would break. When Samuel's tears had dried, he became aware something had changed. Chittering birds flew out of branches, spreading their wings into the sky. Insects ceased humming, and the hairs on his skin prickled. In spite of the chill, he felt somehow enveloped. As if embraced by an invisible warmth, he forgot his troubles and soon fell fast asleep. At dusk, Samuel awoke to squirrels cracking nuts. Their sounds were soothing, but eventually he stood up, brushed himself down, and traipsed back to his family's hut. The woodpecker's drumroll cheered him on his way, and bats swooped in circles overhead. He was nearly home when a squirrel stopped its skittering and viewed him through large black eyes. He could have sworn it was telling him not to be afraid, but then squirrels often made strange chattering noises, so he must have imagined it. A week later, things weren't any better at home, and only the thought of visiting the forest oak kept Samuel going. After drinking the last of the ale, his parents were in no state to raise objections to his leaving. Guided only by the moon and a lantern, he trudged through soil damp with golden green leaves and the odd, croaking toad. In the half-light, a small deer slipped past, limping slightly as if it had injured its foot. This was the first time Samuel had sought the tree's shelter at night. Normally, he'd have been too scared to walk into the night's gloom, but there was something so magical and mysterious about the forest, he felt comforted. As he had often done before, Samuel rested against the tree's trunk. This time, though, it was different, and he felt something give behind him. Curious, he swung his body around and began exploring the familiar crack with his hands. Then he shone his lantern onto an unfamiliar outline. To his amazement, when he pushed, the wood gave and the door opened. Samuel flashed his light into the space inside and gasped. Before him were piles of gold coins, all shapes and sizes, neatly arranged and glinting like candles. The next moment, the boy felt a rush of air as the world's only remaining dragon landed beside him, flaring her nostrils. Samuel must have passed out, but when he came around, the dragon was fanning him with her breath. "There's no need to be afraid," she rumbled. "I won't harm you. I've been waiting a long time to meet you." "What do you mean?" Samuel asked, aghast. "Exactly what I say. You can't tell me you've never heard the rumors of my existence?" "I have heard—" Samuel managed to speak, but it came out all squeaky. "But then no one has been able to prove you actually exist." "That's only because I didn't want them to know," the dragon said grandly. "I've been careful to hide the evidence. If they started hunting me, It would only mean needless deaths and bloodshed. She sighed loudly. But the time has finally come to break the curse of the unicorn. Except I can't do it alone. I need your help. My name is Amara, by the way. I originate from the beautiful Isle of Rhodes. Thousands of years ago, I lived there. I don't understand. Samuel was convinced he was dreaming. You will, she said airily. I do hope you like my coins. I've stored them here for safekeeping. I've never seen anything shine so brightly, he said, relaxing a little. They should. I've spent more years than I care to remember collecting and polishing them, Amara said. Are you for real? Samuel asked. I didn't think dragons actually existed. Not anymore. Amara snorted. Admittedly, I'm the last of my kind. Unless what? Unless I make the necessary sacrifice. What sacrifice? Samuel felt frightened again. Amara's sigh was like wind rustling through trees. I have to sacrifice my love of gold. That is the only way my eggs will ever hatch. I see, Samuel said, pretending to understand. Where are the eggs? He asked. Hidden away high up in the tree's canopy, far from prying eyes. Samuel's eyes widened as he tried to imagine them. You must promise not to tell anyone about the gold. It's my secret. Can you do that, young Samuel? Yes, I suppose so. Are you sure? Amara vibrated her wings, nearly knocking him over. Can't I even tell my mother? Amara exhaled into some nearby logs, creating a fire to keep the boy warm. Especially not your mother. You must promise, she hissed. All right, I promise. I don't break my word once I give it, Samuel said just as fiercely. For a while, the pair sat in companionable silence, enjoying the heat. The dragon waited for Samuel's next utterance. Finally, by the light of the fire, he started to tell Amara of his troubles. That bread smells wonderful, Samuel's mother said. We will have to use it sparingly, as you've used the last of the flour. Sorry, Mum. I wanted to surprise you. Samuel took the bread out of the oven and laid it to cool on a slab. You have. I'm looking forward to eating it. Take some to your dad. She looked a little ashamed. We both need reviving after last night. I thought I saw a dragon last night, Samuel said tentatively. He had no intention of breaking his promise about the gold, but he wanted to test his mother's reaction to the idea of a dragon. You must have been dreaming. Dragons are mythical creatures. They don't exist in real life. You should ignore the rumors if you want to keep our family safe. They have to be false. Of course, I must have been dreaming. Samuel was disappointed, but not surprised by his mother's reaction. The next day, Samuel was running faster than he'd ever run in his life. He stood by the oak tree, calling loudly. Amara, you must help me. Please. Samuel was met by a thick silence. Just as he was about to leave, the dragon revealed herself in all her glory. What's the matter, Samuel? She asked sweetly. Something terrible has happened. My mother came across a deer that had died in the forest and dragged it home for us to eat. Someone saw her and reported her to the Baron. He sent out his men, and they've thrown her in prison. She's in the Baron's dungeon, waiting trial. If she's found guilty, she will lose her hand as a punishment. The deer belong to the king, and common people are not allowed to kill them. But she didn't kill it, the dragon pointed out reasonably. It doesn't matter. My dad says she will be found guilty either way. Samuel started crying bitterly. Oh, what's to become of us? After a great deal of soul-searching, interspersed with outbreaks of scale preening, Amara made the following announcement. I will give you some of my coins so you can take them to the Baron and make peace. The rest I will keep here for you to use later. He doesn't need to know about my full hoard. After the boy left, Amara flew up to the nest and found one of her eggs had cracked open. A baby dragon was wobbling around, trying to clean itself. The other 2 eggs remained firmly sealed, perhaps only able to open once the sacrifice was complete. The Baron laughed in Samuel's face when he told him about the dragon, but he had no qualms about taking the coins. When Amara heard the Baron had not released Samuel's mother, she was furious. An enraged Amara flew out of the tree and landed outside Samuel's hut. Hop on, she said. We are going to get your mother together. Samuel clung on fiercely as they soared into the sky. As they flew over the castle, the dragon darted out flames. Huge tongues rapidly spread, setting the Baron's castle ablaze. When Samuel and his mother were reunited, the crowd muttered, If only the Baron had believed the rumors. Years later, Samuel stood on the balcony of his mansion. At night, a blazing cloud descended. Mina, he called. No, said a young dragon with gold-tipped wings. I'm her son. She sent me to check on you. Tell her, Samuel said passionately, I will never forget what she did. And, as Samuel climbed onto the dragon's back for one final flight, he thought, there really is no smoke without fire. The next story is about how we took someone's seat on the airplane. I feel so bad. We didn't know. How are you supposed to know these things? We don't fly often. My wife and I always make sure to line up in the correct numerical order to board. We wait our turn to get off the plane. We're careful not to invade anyone else's space. We boarded the plane in an orderly fashion, B-15 and B-16. I rolled our suitcases down the narrow aisle, scanning for seats where we'd spend the next 4 hours. I could feel the impatience of passengers behind me, inching closer and breathing down my neck, eager to grab their spots. I stopped and asked my wife, How about these? She shrugged. I don't care, as always. I lifted our suitcases into the overhead bin and slid into the window seat, just like I'd promised her earlier. She took the middle seat, and we settled in. I pulled out disinfectant wipes, handing her one, and we got to work wiping down armrests, seatbelt buckles, and tray tables. She was meticulously scrubbing her tray table and reminded me not to forget mine. As I cleaned, I noticed a book and water bottle in the pocket of the aisle seat. Someone must have forgotten their stuff, I said. A few minutes later, a man approached us and asked for a book. My wife pointed to the book in the aisle seat pocket, thinking that's what he meant. But no, he gestured to the pocket under my tray table. I handed it to him, and he took the book and left. That was odd, I muttered. My wife turned to me and asked, Do you think he was saving this seat? I shrugged, confused. I don't see how he could have been. There was nothing on the seat itself. How were we supposed to know? A young man in the row ahead overheard us and turned around to explain. This was a connecting flight, he said, and some passengers had stepped off during the layover to stretch or use the restroom. A moment later, a woman appeared and took the aisle seat, setting her bag down as if she'd been there before. It hit me. What if the man with the book was traveling with her? What if I'd unknowingly taken his seat? I feel awful. I had no idea it was someone else's spot, but now someone probably thinks I'm rude or inconsiderate. A selfish guy ignoring basic airplane etiquette. I can't shake the guilt. The moral of the story: always check the seat pockets in front of your chosen spot. And if you leave your seat during boarding, make sure to leave something on it to show it's taken.